Everybody out in the audience has a phone out looking at it. Just kind of
yeah,
we're texting each other.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
Everybody but the teen center.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and we'll start with a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome State Representative Hank Valpel to our meeting. Thank you very much. We'll start with roll call.
Supervisor Fountain?
Here.
Treasurer Horning?
Here.
Clerk Chopu? Here. Trustee Colliane?
Here.
Trustee Germain?
Here.
Trustee Harper?
Here.
Trustee Petrucci?
Here.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Petrucci. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Number 5 is call to the public. Anybody at call to the public this evening? Being none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is approval of our consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Harper, second by Trustee Germain. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 7, we have pending and new business. Our first is a presentation from the Hero Annual Report. Good evening. If you'd like to come forward, you could either sit here, or you can stand at the.
He did.
All right. Okay. So we're here from the Hero Teen Center. I'm one of the directors, Alice Cakebread, and these are some of the teens that came with me that come every day almost. So I just brought them along. So we just have a little presentation to thank you guys for all you do to support us at the Teen Center. So I do this right. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you some things we've been up to. We have a musician come in every Thursday and play with the kids. It kind of teaches them some leadership and hanging out and learning some new music together and doing programming. Actually, they've learned a couple songs together, which I thought was really cool because everybody was playing separately at the beginning, and now they're playing together, so that's a big thing. We had a Valentine's Day party, which was really fun. And we do some face painting. We also did henna, some fun activities. We always do holiday parties, so we did a Halloween party and a Christmas party. And they also volunteered for Winterfest. We had a lot of teens come out for that, and we raised $1,300 for the Teen Center, which was awesome, and they loved doing it. It was really fun. We actually also recently nominated 2 kids for Optimus Awards. Jake Howard and Callum were nominated. We went to the awards ceremony, which was really great to see our teens thriving and doing great community dedication, because they got it for leadership, hard work, and overcoming obstacles in their lives. So we just wanted to thank you for all you do to help support the Teen Center. We also have some other exciting things happening. We got a summer program grant, so we and the kids love it being open during the summer. They were begging for it last year, so we went through with that. And then we also are going to do a community garden, which we won the soup through Cromaine, so we got some money to designate to a community garden and hopefully teach the kids some gardening and nutrition skills. And then we also are going to have a float in the Memorial Parade, so we have a few things coming up in the future too. And then I just have a couple teens, and they just want to say a couple things about the Teen Center. And one of you can go first.
I'm Zach. I go to the Teen Center because I get to hang out with friends and just get away from home. It's like a second home to me. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Lexi. I go to the Teen Center because that's where all my friends go, and I like to hang out with them out of school. I just want to say thank you for letting us have that building.
I'm Taryn, and I go to the Teen Center because it's like my second home for many of us, and
there are so many activities that can let a lot of us escape from anything that's bothering us, and there's a lot of great people that we can talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the whole board, thank you, the Hero team, for putting that together, and I'm glad you are getting good use out of that and enjoying your time. And I'll be excited to see what kind of vegetables you guys grow this summertime. And whoever gave you that grant to open up for this summer, you know, God bless them as well. That was quite a gift. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay, 7B. This is applicant. This is a resolution for Hartland Brewery liquor license. James, I believe this is a requirement from the state. It's not one of our liquor licenses. It's coming from the federal government or something like that, because they're going to actually make their own beverages there.
It's a state license for a microbrewery, so it's not one of our quota licenses. You've already approved the special use permit. This resolution is what the Liquor Control Commission needs for their application.
Okay.
I move to approve the local approval resolution for the Liquor Control Commission for Hartland Brewery.
Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Kulani. Is there any discussion? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Clerk Chofiu? Yes. Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci?
Thank you. Now, does that go back to the state then for their?
Yeah.
They just had to go through this process. Okay. Very good. Item number 7C is a special event permit number 18-005 for Elliott Carnival. Is there anybody here from that organization? James, would you like to give a memo to the board and we can have some discussion?
Yeah, you have good documentation, I think, in the agenda packet on some issues and questions on sort of both sides of this. You have approved carnivals in the past. They looked a little bit different than this one, with a much more heavily involved community organization sponsoring and overseeing the event. That's not the case here. This would, I would submit to you, is really a private special event, not a community special event, which is permissible under the special events permit if you think it meets the intent of the special events ordinance. So we've not had a carnival quite like this one before. So there are some questions that I can kind of go into, concerns if whether we're inclined to approve this one or not. I think you've got there that the management from Rural King is willing to provide oversight for the event. That was not the original plan, but we've indicated that that could be a concern, that there is somebody who's kind of owning the event and making sure that it fits our community values and reputation. And the rest of the things are there. This is a place that they've had them before. There are also concerns that there isn't much other connection to a community organization as there has been with these in the past. So really it's the board's privilege to decide.
Okay. Comments from the board?
Just struggling with this one a little bit. I'm trying to understand what the purpose of our local ordinance would be, how it distinguishes between a special event for the community, a special event that is sponsored, private enterprise, and certainly I think that needs to be, I think, discussed among the board. How is this any different than say a Meyer or Rural King wanting to do some promotional activities, which they're permitted to do under the special use permit as well, up to 30 days, in fact, and to advertise their company and so forth. So I'd kind of like to hear. I haven't decided one way or the other because, in my mind, the distinguishing characteristic is whether it's promoting a community event nonprofit versus a for-profit, which is clearly what this is intended to be, which is a company that's coming in and wants to undertake a carnival in our community, has the permission of a landowner, and also apparently has a connection with one of the local units or local organizations like 4-H, or at least that's what it's information that's been provided to us. So I'm just trying to understand what the reservations might be, and because of, and I discussed this also with Larry Fox as well, and what is the issue here?
I can tell you what I feel about it is, it came to us as an Elliott event. It did not come with Rural King or 4-H or anything else. They back-ended it to go to Rural King, and Rural King said, we work with 4-H, and it kind of back-ended, became an event, where most of our special events are people who pay taxes in Hartland, say, hey, I want to have an event, and they're running it, they're promoting it, they're providing security, they're having everything. Where this one, it's really Elliott Enterprises, if you look at the application.
So how is that any different than if a veteran were to come in and undertake open up let's say a vegetable garden or vegetable sailing, fruit stands type of thing in our community?
They're allowed to do that.
They're allowed to do that.
No, I mean, that's a state law. We can't.
Right, it's a state law. But if we
interrupt.
didn't have the state law that permitted that, would we permit that or not?
I don't know. I'm not in that.
I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is that how is this any different? I mean, if the issue is that they're not paying their own taxes, I think there's a lot of examples where there are entities and organizations that don't pay their fair share of taxes within our community. If it's used as a promotional tool for Rural King, whether it's on the backside of it or not, but it draws people into the Rural King, then how is that any different than a marketing matter that someone else like a Meyer might do with their sale of flowers, or Target might do with something else? I'm just, if the distinguishing factor is one is a nonprofit and one is for-profit, I don't know if that's the intent of our ordinance. And I surely would have a hard time with a little bit with that, with our ordinance.
Yeah, I can speak to that, and Troy discussed it in his memo here, page 84 of your packet. The special event ordinance does differentiate between what would be called a community special event versus a normal special or private or regular special event. Community special event is one that's conducted by or on behalf of a community organization and not for profit. As we look at this, we don't see that that's the case here. So it does fall into the different category that you've said. Yes, it would be permissible for the board to consider approving some sort of promotional private for-profit special event for any business. If a restaurant wanted to have a car show in their parking lot, or any number of things that could possibly fall under a special event permit, they could do that with your approval in some cases. In this case, it does require your approval because there's things in the ordinance that say they have to go to the township. Carnivals, liquor license involved, those types of issues. So then it becomes a question for the 7 of you to decide whether it meets the intent of what's allowed there. Then it becomes a question of is a carnival a promotion of the township business as much as some other event you might have, or is it really its own event that happens to be in front of a business, or questions like that? Staff is prepared to carry out an approval or disapproval. We're just acknowledging that there are things about this that are different than the previous ones that were community special events.
So one of the issues I have is, what's the intent of this township ordinance? What is the rationale that justifies the distinguishing issue, the distinguishing issue between an event that would be put on by the same organization for the benefit of a nonprofit versus for doing it on their own for a profit? The event is what is taking place. What happens is that really our role as a board to judge what happens? I mean, and I guess that's where I'm struggling with that aspect.
That's for you
of
to
it.
decide.
Exactly, and that's the point I'm trying to make here is, the event is the same event, whether it is an event for a nonprofit or for-profit for itself. It really is, in terms of the effect on our community, in many ways it's the same effect from a an event that people can go to and participate in. I'm just trying to understand the purpose of our ordinance here, and this is one of the things that I think our ordinance really needs. When you look at a rule, when we develop an ordinance, what's the rationale for having that ordinance in place? Is it promoting the intent here? And it's not simply, because it certainly isn't a health, safety, and welfare issue, because we allow carnivals to get permits that come into our community. So it's not a health, safety, and welfare issue as long as they meet those requirements under our special permit. So it becomes a philosophical issue, and I'm struggling with that. Is that our role to philosophically prohibit a company from coming in? Let's say we deny this permit. And I don't have any affiliation with this organization. I don't even care for carnivals. It's not my thing. Some people do. My point is that if he has permission from the landowner, the company does, and it's an event that is one that, in every other respect meets our ordinance. Otherwise, we need to look at this ordinance. We need to look at this, just like we should any of our ordinances, and determine whether or not it deals with the health, safety, and welfare. Are we denying, the free market an opportunity here? And if our only issue is that we don't get any taxes from it, I find that a very weak argument, in my opinion, for denying somebody the opportunity to come in and participate. It's just kind of my thoughts on how I look at this. I'd really like to hear what other people have to say, because I have not made my decision up here. But I read this whole thing and I'm like going, wait a minute, what's going on here? So
I think I probably owe you an obligation to say that. I don't know that we can say that a carnival is a carnival is a carnival. On the surface, it can be. I think there are some things that were pointed out that if it's a totally a 100% for-profit private carnival versus a carnival that's part of a either larger event or something that there's a local community organization that's overseen and is there and present for, I think you are talking slightly different. That may not be an important distinction. The other distinction I would draw is not necessarily that if we've approved carnivals for whatever circumstance in the past, and I don't think you're saying that means we're semi-obligated to approve all future carnivals that come down the road. It's more of an issue of, it's almost like a special use. When you're looking at a special use, a drive-in is a or a drive-through restaurant is a drive-through restaurant, but you have the privilege to say, in all things considered, there are other factors that make me think that a drive-through restaurant shouldn't belong in all places that are zoned this way or that. That's why it's a special use, and that's kind of why this is the fact that the way the ordinance is written, I would suggest, says that carnivals are generally not permitted here, but for special circumstances, that is your privilege to decide. And you have decided in the past that the nature of those previous carnivals rose to that level. Whether this one or not is up to you, and every carnival that comes to you, you decide whether it meets the intent of a special event that's worthy of being permitted. So that, I don't know if that is distinct enough, but those are the things I guess I would.
For me, it's more of a issue of community. These type of events that we hold, such as Winterfest and the Memorial Day Parade, there's buy-in from the whole community, and the community is putting on this event. For this particular instance, I don't see the community involvement in this. If Rural King would have come to us and said, we'd like to do a carnival, I would be more receptive to looking at it, because it's now one of my local businesses that's coming to me and asking for this. But just to have some company come in to make a profit on this type of deal without community buy-in or anything like that, it doesn't strike me right.
Anybody else have thoughts?
I'm looking at it from the standpoint of they're projecting 500 people over a day's event or something like that. So, and it's already got approval from the fire department, the road commission, all the other agencies that would, confirm whether it's a health or safety issue. So I don't think there's any concerns from that point of view. But one of the advantages I see, and I'm not discounting what you said, Larry, because local business taking the prerogative in advance to arrange this would be my preference. The fact that they have acquiesced after the fact is still meaningful to me. They understand what's going to happen. I think that much like the soccer tournaments that are held or lacrosse tournaments in the area, this would be an opportunity for people from outside of our community to come to Hartland, enjoy the carnival, and benefit the local restaurants and other, even perhaps Rural King may get some new customers that they wouldn't get otherwise. So from the standpoint of the local business economy, I think it's probably a good idea. I had a concern about, because it was originally scheduled for April and now it's been moved to May because of the timing with this meeting and other things. I wanted to make sure that if it did proceed, it wasn't going to conflict that much with, or at all, with the farmers market.
It's the opening weekend.
The opening weekend.
It's the opening weekend of the farmers market.
So maybe that would be good for the farmers market too, if you want.
No, it's going to be parking issues.
So that would be something we'd have to consider. But I understand what Joe is saying, because if you read what our planner prepared, the only definitions we have for a special event are community events. This is definitely a community event. It's just not been come about in the manner that the definitions within our ordinance allow at this time. And I guess that's why James is saying it really boils down to whether our decision.
And I want to make sure I clarify, you can permit this as a regular special event. Just, I can't suggest to you that this qualifies for a community special event. The distinction probably isn't all that important, other than the policy issue, other than the fact that they need to pay an application fee rather than it be waived, but that's a token issue.
So if this was a regular special event, we could allow this.
It's still, yeah, you can still.
They've been here for a year. They could say, hey, we're going to do something special for the community, because the carnival's going to make money regardless if a charity is involved or not. They're not going to come here to lose money. They're going to be making money. So we haven't defined, is $100 enough to be a community event, or does it have to be a certain amount? And I think that at this point, I'm leaning towards that we would allow this event to happen. And if we need to relook at the ordinance for future events like this, then we need to do that. But it's very vague the way it's written, and they've done everything I think Joe mentioned that they've done everything they had to do, or maybe Matt mentioned the same thing. The only thing is it what's the extent of the the local? Didn't the chamber do one? And then they kind of ran it. Walden Woods has run one, and it's the same entity that's been at both of those, I think. That's been.
There was a different company in the mix there.
This one's been here before.
They've been here before with one of those. I just don't know which one.
So, if we need to relook at the actual definition, I think we should do that. But in my opinion, allow this one. So. Anybody else? Joe? Glenn?
I'm going to vote no on it.
Me too.
I think we're going to open the door for a lot of other issues with other companies wanting to do the same thing. And we have, I understand, but we have set a precedent that we do it for local charities and groups that want to hold it to raise some money for whatever cause that they have. And I'd like to stick to that, and I also think that the ordinance needs to be looked at to define that better. So that's where I stand.
Glenn?
Well, I think with the nature of our ordinance right now, I'm not a big fan of carnies, period, carnivals and that to begin with. But I can see a benefit to the surrounding businesses by bringing in, you know, other people. They'll come in, maybe they'll go over to the restaurant, or they'll go into Rural King, or they'll go into Myers, or and if they're in here, they'll spend their money elsewhere. So I do think that we should look at the ordinance and maybe define in the future what we should allow. But as it stands right now, I don't think, you know, it's probably good practice to refuse somebody just because I personally don't like carnivals, you know. So
I think that we got to be careful, even as local government, and when we start picking winners and losers in our business community, who gets to win, who gets to lose. This seems like it's adding a lot of subjectivity that I don't think that we should be in, unless there is a public health, safety, and welfare issue associated with it. I am struggling with the idea that the only distinguishing characteristic is that this is a company that applied versus, say, a Rural King or Walden Woods or the Chamber or some, you know. I'm struggling with that. I'm just saying that this is not good policy to be adopting to decide that someone shouldn't have the opportunity to come to our community, and as long as they have the permission of, and it's a special event. I mean, I think you can limit, I agree with Bill, we need to look at this ordinance, limit it in terms of time, duration, you know, how many, maybe we limit the number throughout the year, because do we want to have that, you know, someone, you know, coming into our community and having a carnival event every weekend? You know, I think that those are all legitimate, you know, issues that we should take a look at. But again, I think that however this board decides, and there isn't a motion really pending.
I'll entertain a motion
at this juncture, so I don't know where we're going with this.
But Rural King didn't come to us, Joe. Either did the 4-H Club. They didn't come to us either. And if you can recall, we had a problem with one of the carnivals that came into town when it was being policed by the organization that asked for it to come. And I think, James, you shut it down for a day, didn't you?
It didn't come to that. It was not good, though.
But there was a problem going on there. There's nobody there to police this thing on behalf of the township or the organizations that they claim that they're going to support here. And that's bothersome to me, because unless you're going to have Livingston County Police out there, we don't have a police department to stand out there either. So I just don't. I think we're opening
for me, there's more at stake when a community organization brings this type of event to the thing. That community organization is putting their reputation on the line with this event. Also, you're going to get a better quality event if they're bringing the event to you. Again, if it goes back to the same thing. Had Rural King brought this to me, now I've got a local business that I thought has a vested stake in making sure this event really goes good. But as it stands now, it's the amusement company came in with this event and got a spot, and Rural King said, yeah, we'll let you use our spot. But if it goes sour, Rural King's not going to be out there with any responsibility for this thing.
They didn't sign the application.
So again, for me, it's you're taking a chance on an outside organization coming into your community and not putting on a good event, because you have no local support for it, nobody taking responsibility for it, and that's what boils down to for me.
But Larry, in the instance you just raised, that where there's been issues in the past, there was a sponsor of that event. So it can happen either way. You don't have to have a sponsor to eliminate problems.
No, but if it wasn't for that sponsor, we may not have known that there was a problem there.
James knew about it.
Yeah, I think he got the emails and the calls.
Is there any other discussion on this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit number 18005 with the following conditions. Satisfaction of the conditions from the Hartland Deerfield Fire Authority, Hartland Township Department of Public Works Director, and the Township Manager. demonstration of compliance with the Livingston County Sheriff's Office stipulations pertaining to exit signs, demonstration of compliance with applicable Livingston County Health Department stipulations. Number 4, compliance with any requests by Hartland Township for noise mitigation or additional site lighting when determined to be a health, safety, or welfare concern. Number 5, provision of private security as described in the applicant's email. 6, submission of names and phone numbers for Rural King managers who will be on site during all hours of the carnival. Applicant shall pay a $75 private special event permit application fee. The special event permit may be revoked at any time before or during the event by any township officials for any reason related to health, safety, or welfare. And that concludes the motion.
Support.
The motion by Trustee Germain, a second by Trustee Harper.
Could I request a roll call vote?
Yes, I was going to do the same thing. Have the clerk please call the roll.
Trustee Petrucci?
No.
Clerk Schofield? No. Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Treasurer Horning?
No.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll move on to item number 7D, which is Mill Point Road Improvement Construction. Mr. West, good evening.
Good evening. The township received an open bid, sealed bids for the Mill Point road improvements as a final step of the completing the special assessment district for the Mill Point residential development. Total of 8 contractors submitted bids, and there was a delta of approximately $150,000 between the high bid and the low bid. This information was handed over to the Homeowners Association to let them review and at their request. And essentially the Homeowners Association recommended the approval of TLS Construction. It is noted that it was noted by the Homeowners Association that the Road Commission and the Drain Commission have both selected TLS Construction as their 2018 excavation contractor, as well as the subcontractor that TLS is using for this project is Reith Riley, who is currently the 2018 contractor for the Livingston County Road Commission projects. They have also completed all the Hartland Township Safer Roads Plan road projects, so they perform satisfactory, and we have not had any complaints. And although TLS was not the lowest bidder, their bid is approximately 12.4% below the engineer's as-bid construction cost estimate of $980,000. Based upon all of this information, Public Works is requesting or recommending that authorization for the supervisor and the clerk to execute a contract with TLS Construction in the amount of $771,930. In addition to that, Public Works is requesting a 10% contingency for potential unknowns that we see at the as we lift the pavement and mill it off, as well as approval for relevant budget amendments, including the bond cost for this project. Be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this project.
So we have 2 different line items on our budget tonight for Mill Point. One's the resolution for what you just stated here.
It'll be the bond. There's the bonding resolution. What I'm seeking here is authorization. HRC develops the contract books, and basically they develop them after the approval. I'm seeking that authorization for the supervisor and the clerk to sign off on those contract books when they are delivered by HRC, which will be a future date. Generally, they don't finish the contract books until you actually approve this contract.
First motion is for the contract books.
Yes, as well as the 10% contingency
Okay.
and the budget amendments, because there are going to be budget amendments, including the bond cost for this project.
Okay. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the supervisor and clerk to execute the contract with TLS for the Mill Point Road SAD and approve the project budget of $771,930 plus 10% contingency, and approve the relevant budget amendment, including bond costs.
Support.
Had a motion by Trustee Kalani, second by Trustee Harper.
I have to make a point of order, and maybe you can clarify this. My firm represents the township on the bond issue. Actually, Mr. Axe formerly wasn't with my law firm that I am now with Clark Hill. I was there before he had done bond work for the township. He asked me to abstain from the bond resolution, but I didn't know. I want to be sure it's okay to move this resolution, or if it probably makes more sense for me to abstain from both.
From both, I would. It's not going to hurt anything.
I should go on record. I don't receive any kind of credit from the firm with respect to our contract with the township at all, but it is my law firm, the firm that I work for. So.
James, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we had consulted on a previous issue. At that time, he had mentioned that did not need to abstain in that case. This is different. So if he's saying to abstain in this case, I would think that the same would apply to this.
So I will withdraw my motion, so if someone would like to.
It'll make it my motion. How's
Make
that?
it-
I'll
Okay,
move up.
so it'll be Glenn's motion.
If you don't mind, I'll abstain from both of these motions.
And so is there support for Glenn's motion?
I will support Glenn's motion, silent motion.
And Matt, Jermaine is the second.
And I
then-
have a question, please.
Sure, go ahead.
I understand the motion, you're asking for some wiggle room, but in your mind, what will be the, 10% of 700 or 772,000 is a lot of money.
That is correct. If there is any additional undercutting that's required in the western portion, because those road surfaces are not getting as in-depth of a road rehab as Andover Drive, which is the main dragway through there. Additionally, there are catch basin rebuilds that are going to be required, which could potentially take out driveway flags. So those are my kind of primary concerns. The driveway flags of concrete were not included in this estimate, provided that they have to come out, we're certainly going to have to replace them.
So none of those things you mentioned were included in the engineer's estimate?
The catch basins were. Originally, this construction estimate was done prior to this last winter season. There's reason to believe that there's additional curb work will be required to be done. Currently, the construction engineer's estimate was 2,600 linear feet. We believe there's a substantial or the potential for more. Just at doing our windshield survey as we drive through there, it appears that there's additional curbing that may have to be replaced. Normally, our engineers are pretty all-inclusive when they come up with their construction estimate, given the nature that it was developed prior to this last winter season, and we can visually see there's more deterioration in the curbing and catch basins. I'm just asking for a little bit of wiggle room on that, based on that notion.
And the downside of not giving you that authority now is you'll have to ask later?
Essentially, it will delay the project if I have to ask for it. It has the potential to delay any further action with this project.
Well, and the township's not paying for this. The Mill Point residents are paying for it.
And I think certainly these are, of course, fair questions. This is a model we've used for a couple of years now on projects. I think it's worked well without requiring to keep coming back. And I trust that you found that we've demonstrated wise stewardship and using those contingency dollars only when needed. I mean, we still have not had a case where we've used all of the contingency or anywhere close to it. And we certainly haven't had to come back and ask for more.
Any other questions? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Trustee Kalani abstained.
Oh, excuse me, yes.
Thank you very much.
I thought I heard it. I thought.
Yeah,
You did.
I meant to say.
It's habit.
Okay, and then following up with that is 7E, which is the resolution for the bond for Mill Point. Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Mill Point bond resolution.
Support.
Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Harper. Is there any discussion? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll on the resolution.
Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Trustee Collier?
I abstain.
Oh, sorry. Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci?
Yes.
Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Clerk Chopu? Yes.
Thank you. Item number 7F is a resolution for Verizon Metro Act permit. Manager Wickman, just briefly explain to the board what this represents, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. You haven't had to do one of these in a long time since Metro Act was put in effect in the early 2000s, but Verizon is proposing to put up additional aerial lines and buried lines in the township on existing poles and not to install wireless facilities on any of those poles. It's just lines. And so based on that, this is like the cable franchise. It's a template, boilerplate that we have to follow, and you're pretty much told that you need to approve these. And you do have some conditions listed there that I think would be the two most important to you, is that there will be no construction of new utility poles, and that they will not be installing wireless equipment on any of those poles, just lines. And you would, and of course, you know the Metro Act, through this way, they pay their fees to the state, and the state disperses those back to the township based on linear foot of infrastructure, and those Metro Act dollars are used for any capital projects that are in the right-of-way. This year, we're using those monies on the Hartland Road sidewalk.
I move to adopt the resolution granting Verizon Metro Act permit with conditions.
Support.
Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Germain. Is there any discussion? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci?
Yes.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Clerk Chopu? Yes. Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 7G is resolution for the 2017 Livingston County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Again, Manager Wickman, brief explanation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is, you've adopted some previous resolutions for the county emergency management planning. This should be the last one to be eligible for FEMA dollars in the event of a natural disaster or other emergency that qualifies. It's a long, lengthy document. They've definitely done some good work there to plan for these events. It's just our resolution to buy into it, and I think most all the other communities have already done that.
I think this is also necessary in order to qualify for certain loans, correct, or grants?
Oh, that may be certainly for FEMA assistance dollar amounts, but probably for other grants too.
I think that, yes, I think having a hazard mitigation plan is one of those items that when it comes to seeking, and we don't have a need at this juncture, but we could. There's a dam over here on Bullard Lake that may need some work at some point in time. Anyway, you might know more about that.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the 2017 Livingston County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Support.
and I have a question for James.
Okay,
It's
got a
my
motion.
understanding that by adopting this resolution, the township will be eligible for FEMA grants through April 4th of 2022. What is the secret about that time window? We don't have to take any further action until after that?
I don't know. I think the Livingston County Emergency Management Office and Fire Chief Carroll have been very helpful in this process. I don't know those details. I trust that if we need to renew a plan at that time, when that time approaches, we will be prompted to do so.
Okay, and then my second follow-up question would be, let's say we do have a disaster, God forbid, and the county's hazard mitigation plan is found to be in need of improvement, and it's revised and readopted at the county level in 3 or 4 years. What is the mechanism to inform the township of the county's actions?
I think we would have to readopt it, and that they would approach us to do exactly that, just as they did in this case. Because they certainly, even the, last year we passed resolution for their emergency support plan for similar reasons. Those are documents that they had before, but because they renewed them, they had us do this step.
So I had a motion by Trustee Germain and a second by Trustee Kalani. Is there any other questions, comments? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci?
Yes.
Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Clerk Schofield, yes. Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes. Thank you. Item number 8 is board reports, and we are in our first meeting in April, even though it doesn't feel like April. Clerk Schofield.
No report.
Treasurer Horning.
Nothing this evening.
Trustee Kalani.
I have nothing to.
Trustee Germain.
I have a small item. I would like to inform the board and the public that the remediation system that has been operating at the was formerly known as the Hartland 36 gas plant has now been in operation just shy of 4 months, and they're getting some quarterly samplings happened this week. Those results should be available by the end of April, and they will be submitting their first formal report to MDEQ on the remediation progress. But the field data that I've seen, been privileged to so far, is very, very promising, and it looks like the selected remediation approach is doing what was expected. So that's good news for our township, and especially those residents concerned about potential drinking water issues in the area.
Very good.
So I'd share that.
Thank you. Trustee Harper.
No report.
Trustee Petrucci.
No report.
When is the big cleanup day?
May 17th.
Coming up
May
pretty soon,
19th,
right?
May 19th.
Third Saturday in May, yeah.
Yeah.
May 18th?
Same day as the carnival.
Okay. Very good. If there's nothing else right now, we'll take a brief recess and we'll start talking about Phragmites.
You have the blue screen, you probably will too when you go to shut down.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Usually mine at home. Usually if it is at work, I go home and it does it at home too.
If that guy has an old PowerPoint projector, it'd be a lot easier.
Alrighty.
Are we moving over there?
Yeah.
Is there anybody here from school that needs some signed? Huh?
Oh, we go over there.